Hello, I'm John Hartledge, and welcome to my channel. Today we're going to talk about rosé, and in this case, from the Southern Hemisphere. Now, if you're joining me for the first time, you're going to find out very quickly that I talk a lot about geography. And if you're coming back to my channel, thank you for coming back. But geography is so very important. I did say Southern Hemisphere. So I'm going to talk about a wine from a country that you usually don't associate wine with, at least in the American wine market, but it's right near two very big wine production centers, Argentina, Chile, and even Paraguay. We're talking about Uruguay. So we're talking Atlantic coast, go to Brazil and head a little bit south. If you're in Argentina, go northeast. It's right on the coast. And actually, from a town, Garzón, and this is Garzón Winery, but it's Garzón, Uruguay, right on the coast of the Atlantic. And interestingly enough, the sea temperature at this area of the Atlantic is about 59 degrees Fahrenheit. The sea temperature on the Pacific, okay, now go up to California, Central Coast California, the Pacific temperature is around 55 degrees. So we only have about 4 degrees difference in temperature. That's very important because wind always comes from the ocean into the land or onto that coast, and it affects that coastal region temperature-wise, and that's very important, particularly for the wine we're talking about today. I did say rosé, but this is a rosé made from Pinot Noir, and Pinot Noir and Chardonnay are really sensitive to temperature, but Central Coast California, and this is why I'm drawing the comparison, Central Coast California, Pinot Noir and Chardonnay are the kings. They are the main grapes, and they do very well because of that cool air coming over the ocean onto that coast. The same thing's happening in Uruguay from that coast because this town is also, here's the nice thing, the town is on a south-facing beach. So in the hills above that, you've got sun coming all day long. So the grapevines love all that time to photosynthesize and grow. And interestingly enough, a lot of guests that I serve and people that talk about wine, they make a rosé. Well, you mix a red wine and a white wine. No, a rosé is made. All classic rosé is made from red grapes. You just take the skins out before they make a full red wine because the skins have the color. The skins are what make a red wine. And if you extract those skins early, you end up with not a red wine, but a rosé. And I'd really like to taste it. So without further ado, let's chat wine. As I've said on other episodes, the twist-off cap has become so popular for a lot of wines, particularly wines that don't need to age or don't need to sit in a cellar and permeate very slow oxidation or aging through a porous cork. And a lot of winemakers are using the twist-off cap called a Stelvin enclosure. It actually seals it very nicely. They're choosing that for wines for the table that they don't plan to have their customers and their audience age for, or use for 5 years afterwards. These are wines that usually want to be served within 3-4 years. They can certainly last a long enough time, but there it is. So that's a totally different sound than what we're used to hearing with the cork popping. But like I said, it's made from Pinot Noir. And I'm going to taste a little. And another nice thing about Uruguay right now, Uruguay, just like when Chile first came to market, Argentina came to market, even South Africa, Australia especially, really good example. When the wines first were available, at least on the American market, they were much cheaper than what consumers would pay in their own country even. So because the producers want to create that market for their wines. But a lot of the wine doesn't even make it out of Uruguay. You think these are all European style countries. They really do like their table wine. So we're lucky to get some of these wines, and some of the channels just haven't been, the consumer channels just haven't been open. But this is a very nice winery. From my experience with this winery, I've tasted a few of their wines. Their reds are truly, truly exceptional reds. But here we go, a red grape Pinot Noir and making a rosé. So I'm expecting, I like a full Pinot Noir gives me always, for me, kind of a dark cherry or Bing cherry. There's this tartness on the sides of the tongue. And here I'm expecting some of that cherry, but not so much cherry, lighter, almost to a raspberry instead of a strawberry, maybe a raspberry type of, and maybe a little bit of flower happening, like flowers, little petally aromatics. It actually smells to me very European, French, like Provence style rosé, but different grapes. Provence would use a heavier grape, so it's very interesting. Or like the champagne that's made with Pinot Noir, classic rosé. And the wine is not over chilled, so I can really taste everything about it. When a wine gets too cold, you really can't taste it well. I love this chiller. This is my clay, my unpolished clay chiller, ceramic, and I fill it with water and I let it soak in. As it evaporates inside, it holds a temperature like a thermal blanket. This wine, I'm going to guess on the retail because it was given to me by the winemaker at a festival. It's his Reserve Pinot Noir Rosé. It is Pinot Noir. It's always harder to grow. Pinot Noir is always a little more expensive. Retail, I'm going to say around $18 to $22, and worth it. Very dry style rosé. Like I say, my best comparison would be a champagne rosé, without the sparkle, of course. But in that vein, really, really nice food wine. I would this acidity that's on here, I would easily pair with always rosés, lighter foods. I don't know if I'd go as far as finger foods, although it'd be fine. Cheeses, fabulous. Rosé we love to have in the hot weather on the deck. But this is serious enough that it could easily go with like a trout, and I'm tasting like nuts would be very good, like an almondine, trout almondine with maybe just a little bit of fragrant herb. I feel like rosemary, but maybe something not so forward as rosemary, but certainly almonds and trout would be very nice. And again, the Pinot Noir with that seafood or the fish, kind of flaky fish. Very pleasing, very easy on the palate. A really great example of European style rosé, and I know that the winemaker would absolutely appreciate that acknowledgement, and they did a fine job. I love his wines. It's Garzón, and it's Garzón in Uruguay, and you can find that easily on the map. Montevideo, just south of Brazil and due east from Paraguay, northeast of Argentina, the little south-facing coast as it cuts in on the Atlantic towards the west. A perfect spot for a beautiful wine. Send me some suggestions, even if it's a wine or a style of wine, or what do I drink with certain type of food. Send me some suggestions, some comments. I love to play back and forth, and joining you with wine online would be a load of fun. Come see me again, and let's chat wine.